Alright YouTube, so we are back of course to talk about some Remake. We are of course continuing the discussion with the PC port, the PC version of Remake. And what we got the other day was the specs for this, with like the minimum specs, the recommended specs. And of course the big talking point, at least as of the last couple of days, is actually the price. So right here, in case you haven't seen it yet, is the minimum and recommended specs. The left column, or I guess technically in the middle of the picture, is the minimum, right? It's the recommended. Me not being a PC gamer, I don't understand most of this. I know the basics, like memory, storage, RAM, stuff like that, but a lot of this I don't entirely understand. So something I've been asked a few times since the reveal of the PC version of Remake/Intergrade is whether or not I'm finally going to get it, finally play it, or whatever the case. And it's going to be part of today's video, the discussion we're going to have. But also is, looking at the specs menu that we just looked at, I don't know that I can. I have no fucking idea if my, laptop's capable. I don't have a gaming PC or anything like that. I just make YouTube videos on a pretty expensive high-end laptop, but I have no idea if it meets those requirements, so that's going to factor into whether or not I'm going to get it. So I'd have to look up how to look up my specs or whatever for my laptop to see if it's even capable, but also there's the price, which is how we kind of roll into the main topic of today's video. Because I don't know that I want to pay what this game costs currently just to essentially be playing Intergrade. Or what I mean is episode intermission, the version's called Intergrade. And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind, getting base game again with better graphics and stuff like that, better visuals, and having to play through the game again wouldn't be a problem. I would gladly play through Remake again, even though I just recently finished it. But I'd essentially be paying $70, which is what this game still costs currently, just to play episode intermission, and obviously that's not what it's worth. It's a $20 purchase if you could buy it separately, right? Roughly about $20. That's what intermission itself is worth, but I'd be paying essentially $70 just for that, which is obviously absurd. That's just dumb as a consumer. Now, if you haven't played Remake at all, right, you've been waiting for this PC version, you've held out for this year, 8 months or whatever it's been, then obviously it's not that big of a deal. You're buying the game because you haven't played it yet, you haven't played base game, but also you're getting episode intermission. But for me, and I guess really anybody else out there that's already bought the game and played it on PS4, it wouldn't be smart, at least as a consumer, as, money-wise, if that makes any sense, to buy it again for this price. And that's kind of the thing here. A lot of the backlash the last couple of days has been about the price. The fact that it is, in fact, $70 on Epic Game Store. The backlash has been so big, in fact, that on the Epic Game Store itself, they've actually took down the price, and where it used to tell you that it was $69.99 or whatever, they changed it to coming soon, which is pretty odd considering the game is, at this point, 3 days away. They don't have the price up because people were complaining about it. And hear me out before we continue. I'm not trying to defend Epic, I'm not trying to defend Square Enix, I'm not even necessarily trying to defend the price entirely. I'm just trying to present you guys with the facts. But pretty much across the board from what I can see, if you're buying FF7 Remake Intergrade digitally, it seems to everywhere still be $70. Whether that's the Square Enix store, the PlayStation Network, or whatever the case, it still seems to be $70. Now if you're buying a physical copy from other locations like Walmart, Target, GameStop or something, it does appear to be on sale. It's actually pretty big sale. It's about $25 off what you're seeing currently, at least on the Epic Games Store. So if you were trying to get your hands on a physical copy of Remake Intergrade, it seems like pretty much across the board, no matter where you go to, it's about $45, which again is a significant price difference from $70. It's damn near half the fucking price. But if you're trying to buy the PC version, which is on the Epic Games launcher, you're buying the game digitally, everywhere I see the digital price of Intergrade is $70, which is pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, the normal price for all next-gen games. Obviously, Remake initially came out on PS4, but Intergrade itself, this version of Remake, is next-gen only, and the next-gen price as it stands going forward is $70 for games. So I get that people don't like it, and I don't entirely agree with it. The other issue here is that it seems like Square Enix themselves almost are trying to set the precedent to make next-gen version games, or next-gen games rather, on PC be $70. And when I say it seems like it's Square Enix specifically, is we're seeing them put Intergrade at $70 on Epic Games Store, but also we're seeing Forspoken, which is coming out next year, over on Steam for the exact same price. It's also a $70 game. So this isn't just a Square Enix Epic thing, this is just Square Enix themselves. They're trying to set the precedent for next-gen games coming to PC at full price at $70. And why I again say it seems like it's just them is because we've seen next-gen versions of games like 2K21 and the Call of Duty Cold War. They had their $70 next-gen versions, but when those games came to PC where they performed as good, if not better, they still came out at only $60. However, the argument that can be made there is that those games, 2K21, Call of Duty Cold War, also had last-gen versions. And while Remake does itself have a last-gen version, there's not a last-gen PS4 version of Intergrade itself. That, of course, is PS5 exclusive. Now, whether or not that entirely matters in this conversation, I don't know. I just want to point it out, right? Because Intergrade itself is next-gen exclusive. 2K21, Cold War, stuff like that. you could get a PS4 version of those games, an Xbox One version of those games, which might be why they came out on PC a little bit cheaper. And from what I can see, at least so far, maybe that's kind of been the thing. Like next-gen games, whatever, however many have come to PC, seem to have been at $60 up until now, and that's where the backlash is coming from. But a question I have for you guys that you can probably answer is, are there any next-gen exclusive games that have come to PC, and what are those prices? And to kind of further elaborate on that question, I mean, next-gen exclusive, as in there's not a PS4 version or an Xbox One version. I'm talking about games that are specifically only on PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. Have those made their way to PC, and what are those prices? Because if they've been $60 this entire time, then this really is just like a price hike on Square Enix's end, trying to get the full value out of next-gen games on the PC market. And if that is the case, then I completely support, the backlash and the anger, 100,000% behind you guys. But if there's not yet a precedent set for what next-gen exclusive games cost on PC, then this is probably the norm going forward, my dudes. And the thing is, regardless of how much we don't like it, we can bitch and moan on social media about it. The game is still going to come out at $70 on Epic, and it's still going to sell very well, right? There's an audience for it. There's people who've been waiting on this version of the game, waiting on a remake of FF7 for 20 plus years now. They would specifically want it on PC. Like, it's going to sell well. It's going to sell probably at least a couple million copies, if not more than that, just because there's an audience for it, which will just further cement the price of next-gen games being $70 on PC. Now, as for the topic itself of games going up in price, games, the standard being $70, something we haven't really talked about here on the channel, it's not really surprising. I mean, games have been, like, across the board, like AAA games, $60 for, like, 15 years or so, like 05, 06, I think is whenever that kind of went into effect. And it's kind of surprising that when we went to Xbox One and PS4 that there wasn't a price increase. Games have only gotten more intricate, more difficult, more expensive to make, so obviously, it does kind of suck to be paying more for video games than we probably have been for our entire lives. Like, as far back as I can remember, games have been $50 to $60. But as long as the game is good and something I'm looking forward to, I have no problem paying $70. Remake Part 2, whenever that finally comes out, drops for PS5, $70. Won't even think twice about it. Don't care. Easy. I'll pay $80. But ultimately, something that I've seen like articles and other things point out, other people point out, is that games go and sell pretty quickly on PC. So even if it is $70 right now, like just wait. Like there's no reason you have to get Intergrade on Epic, on PC or whatever, the day it launches. You don't have to get it on December 16th. Wait a month, wait 2 months or whatever. Let it go and sell. Buy it for cheaper. There's no reason any of us, right now, you watching this, all three of you, has to pay $70. And that's really ultimately all we can really do. If you don't like the price, if you don't agree with the price on PC being $70, don't buy it. That's all you can really do. Like, they're still going to probably make a shit ton of money, make a lot of sales, but that's really the only way you can affect this. You can complain about it on social media, but also just not give them your money. So to kind of wrap it around back to the beginning of whether or not I'm going to get Intergrade, as of right now, obviously not. I'm not paying $70 fucking dollars. It goes on sale, maybe $50 or less dollars. That's when I'll probably consider it, because again, I'm really just buying it for episode intermission. I'm really just wanting to play the Yuffie DLC, so that's kind of what's going to determine when I get it and how much I want to pay for it. But also, I need to see if my laptop's even capable. And kind of a smaller thing, but still worth mentioning, is this is a massive fucking game, dude. Like, it's like 100 gigabyte plus download, so that's also something I'm not really looking forward to. My internet's not bad by any means, but that's still a pretty big download. Something I'd absolutely love to see going forward that I kind of cross my fingers one day they'll do is selling episode intermission, the Yuffie DLC, separately, because it is entirely standalone. It does not require base game remake to play it. So I don't know why they haven't sold it separately yet, and that'd be kind of cool if they started doing that, because I would buy it regardless of price, obviously not too high, just on the whim of whether or not my laptop could even play the damn thing, because it'd only be like $20 to $40 or something, somewhere around there, right? I'd buy that just on the off chance that I could play it. But my dudes, that is, of course, pretty much the video. I want to pass it off to you guys. We talked about a lot of different things throughout the video, of course. The main thing being the price, $70 on PC. What are your thoughts? Do you think it should be more or less? Are you okay with paying $70? What did you think the price was going to be? By the way, my dudes, that is, of course, the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys aren't able to did more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on my notifications. Follow me on Twitter, @DavidYT. And my Discord. The links to my social networks are in the description. Into the outro. Later, guys.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain, or leave it like Cobain.